The joy of being part of the One Bird family, Chris, is we get music now.
I'm more of a surf music kind of guy, but a nice beat to it. You can dance to it.
I was bopping my head yesterday when I saw it. I don't bop my head for much. It's exciting stuff.
Well, you have to be selective in your bopping.
I find as I get older, I don't have as many bopping options. So, you do what you have to.
You bop when you can at this age, my friend.
Oh, I'll tell you. But we're happy to be part of the One Bird family.
Absolutely.
On www.oneberg.com. So, you like being part of Brian's family, don't you?
Well, if I would have known this was our first show as a family member, I probably would have worn a better shirt. But, what are you going to do?
There is no better shirt than that. My son, Tony, whose 38th birthday is today, bought me the Ebbett's sweatshirt of that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, very sweet.
Nice.
Very sweet. So you can wear nothing better. I'm celebrating what is a great story so far. I don't know if you've followed the Cavs this year. Their story.
I have not.
Well, they lost their point guard, Darius Garland, very talented.
Right, I remember that.
So he broke his jaw. Then Evan Mobley, who to me is one of the great underrated forwards in the game, went down with a knee injury for 6 weeks. 2 of your 3 best players gone for 6 to 8 weeks. And they were struggling at 15 and 13. Since they've been gone, they are now 9-2. With a collection of players, I don't know where the hell they got them from, but it's always fun when we had that with the Penguins a couple of years ago when I don't know if you recall when Crosby and Malkin were out at the same time.
Right. We also had it with the Pirates for an entire season with no talent, and somehow they managed to hang in there.
Young talent, Fletch. Young talent. 2029.
No, not that Pirates team. That '97 Pirates team that hung in there despite really no talent.
There was no talent. Kevin Polkovich?
Yeah.
How the hell did he hit 284?
I think they were tipping. They had to have been tipping.
Yeah, I would think. You're right there. They just didn't. They didn't have the technology to find it then.
They didn't have any garbage cans to let people know at that point.
The Freak Show. One of Greg Brown's greatest comments. The Freak Show. That was very appropriate.
Yeah. It certainly was.
You missed the no-hitter.
So you're enjoying this Cavs season, I'm assuming.
The
internet here is bad.
That's okay. I found them on Bally, so I get that. So I can watch all their games, and I have not missed one this year yet. Very exciting run.
Wow, nice.
So your Lakers finally won a couple.
You devoted fan.
After the hangover of the in-season tournament.
I think I'm taking the time out from the Lakers after the whole banner raising thing. It's just it's hard for me to stomach.
Well, why don't you come to the Cavs temporarily at least? Come with us.
I could do that. Geographically, it's the closest, so yeah, I can do that.
All right. I'll send you over a hat. You can wear it. You can wear it with me. Oh man.
Oh, beautiful.
You know what I got to see last night?
What's that?
I was no Casey Webb fan at the beginning on Man versus Food.
No, you were not.
He's gotten a little better. He's starting to win some, not baby challenges. Let me eat 1.5 pounds of food in like a half hour type of things. He's getting a little better. But they played him off against Adam Richman episodes last night on the cooking channel, which I found quite
really.
Yes. He's no Adam Richman.
I think the No, and the Adam Richmond one that I think was easily the most difficult and painful was the one where he had to eat all the ice cream. Because you could literally see the look of pain on his face as he was trying to. I don't even know how many scoops it was. It was frightening.
Is that the one he threw up at?
I I almost threw up. You're talking about him throwing up.
I know
but,
he
but
would throw up at
one
his
of the things, Dave, he would. But it just shows he's human. He's not a machine like Joey Chestnut.
Joey Chestnut is, you have no comparison for him.
The GOAT.
Who he had on his show once, if you recall.
Oh, I don't know.
There was a burrito eating episode with Joey Chestnut.
One of the things that we always. Oh, yuck. Oh.
Oh, man. No more.
One of the things at this time of year, we will no more. We'll be talking about football, obviously, but just to set the stage for what maybe a little bit later in the show. One of the things that always comes, Dave, you and I usually spend Super Bowl day together.
Yes.
And it's always the food that's really interesting. And it's always dependent upon who's playing. So I think a little later, let's run down what some of our options might be.
Exactly. To me, that is the most exciting part of the Super Bowl, which I have made sure I've secured off, and the day after. So, power move with that. But let's talk Sunday first. Monday? I'm sorry.
Okay. Monday.
Did you see the picture of the Steeler fans trying to get to their seats?
I did. I don't know that I would do that. I don't know. I'm a diehard fan as you are, but when I get there and we'd have to send like a large person in front of us to plow it out, first of all.
Yeah. No, it as I get older, I am not into going to cold games anymore, much less 3 feet of snow.
Have you ever seen a stadium like that before? I never have.
Never. Again, I get the whole thing, home field advantage. You move that game. You move that game every time.
Yes. I mean, they're lucky no one got hurt.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, can I tell you the one thing might not be popular that I got from that game?
Go. What's that?
Mason is a nice starting quarterback as long as he's not under pressure. Ew. So, pressure is not his.
Agree completely.
Yeah. So
no, he'll stand he'll stand in the pocket like a deer in headlights, but he'll stand in the pocket.
He stood in the pocket. Some of those throws to nowhere, reminded me of that bridge in 1970, as you recall.
Yes, indeed.
So, and I got to tell you, even though it was a useless drive at the end, they were down, they weren't going to win. I was a little befuddled with some of his decisions, especially to run up the middle with no timeouts and 14 seconds left instead of just chucking it to the end zone.
Yeah. Well, Dave, people forget the man's a third string quarterback, and there's probably a reason for it. Now, he's certainly upped his position in terms of the offseason because he is an unrestricted free agent. He's one of a few that the Steelers have. Yeah. And he may get an offer to be a backup somewhere, but he's not going to be starting anywhere.
No, and that's what people have to remember. It was a great run. I hope he signs here. He'd be a nice backup option here. There are still some questions with Kenny, so I'm not saying he should be the unabated number one going in, but nice story. God bless him for what he did there, but I think this shows you exactly what you're saying. He's not a starting quarterback.
No, and now if you look at this upcoming draft, which is pretty rich in quarterbacks, do you possibly take one? If you can get like Jaden Daniels from LSU, do you make that move?
It wouldn't be a bad move. The only reason I say no at this point, I'm assuming what your no more means, and I think
Yeah,
we have to
yeah.
we have to me this is the problem. I mean, it's convenient to just blame everything on Mike Tomlin, but putting together this team, often ignoring inside linebacker, completely ignoring until this last year the offensive line, is a huge mistake. And we saw that in spades, which makes me wonder, was this Tomlin's greatest job?
Oh, I mean, it has to be up there. I mean, you didn't really have much at the quarterback position between the three of them. Really, you didn't have
No.
what you would consider a franchise quarterback. You had tons of injuries. I mean, inside linebacker especially, that hurt them. I mean, Cole Holcomb was playing well.
Right.
Landon Roberts was playing well, and they both went down.
Right.
Roberts did come back at the end, but he was a step slower, obviously.
Yeah. But I see that's where I concentrate. I mean, they're projecting a cornerback in the first round. Yeah, you need a cornerback. I'm not saying you don't, but you want that offense to hum. You got to put somebody in front of them.
Yeah, and right now they're about 6.5 million over on the cap, so they're going to have to make some moves. So you're probably not going to see Patrick Peterson anymore. You're probably not going to see Allen Robertson. Maybe Larry Ogunjobi is going to be gone too. I don't know. It's going to be interesting what they do with Mitch Trubisky. That's a big hit.
It is, but I've got to imagine there's no more confidence in him. There's somewhere you move on.
Yeah.
I like what they've added with this past draft. Colbert's last draft was good. Jones is certainly a building block you can go with. I am a fan of re-signing Najee. I thought he finally showed his mettle the last half of the year. Although, you know what, if you're gonna bitch about your fellow players needing discipline, start with you and don't. I always hate that when they make that public.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think he played himself into a contract that, it's today's NFL though. It's tough to spend a lot on a running back. It just is.
It is, and that's going to be a factor, obviously. But you have the pieces in place. But I mean, no, Pickett wasn't what we hoped this year. But on the other end, you're an inexperienced quarterback. You can't really compare him to Love because Love got to sit on the sidelines for 3 years, and he had an offensive line in front of him. So this kid has been learning on the fly, running for his life most of his pro career at this point. But I would like to see him with a solid.
So here's the big picture.
Yeah.
Here's the big picture. Do you think that this past season was a successful one?
I think there were some building blocks put in place. Yes. I as we talked earlier, I
would agree.
Really believe we are in a rebuilding period and we're winning.
Yeah, rebuilding and winning is not a combo you usually see. And again, the whole system is set up against someone like a team like the Steelers continuing to be in the mix every year. I mean, it's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
But we're spoiled.
we are spoiled, and we got to see what Khan can do. I mean, I was very impressed with what he did this year with the signings, and I mean, you're plugging holes. You're not signing top notch NFL free agents with the money they had open, but like you said, they plugged it middle at inside linebacker. You certainly would love to see some talent in the draft come in there, though.
Yeah, I would too. The other position, it's not a real high draft thing, but damn it, let's get a punter for God's sake.
That was probably their biggest mistake coming. I thought for sure they were going to cut him in the preseason. I just don't know what they're seeing in him at this point.
Well, then they signed Wing to the practice squad a few weeks ago, and I thought, oh, okay, they're going to make the move.
Yeah, they did not. Yeah, both Viv and I were, as we were watching the game this past week, we were a little stunned when Harvin came in. So I'm with you. I thought that was gonna be where they were going. So, Mr.
So all in
Moore,
all,
yeah. Let's talk about Moore.
Okay.
What he's got to be gone at this point. Would you say?
He's my number one change.
And if you feel he needs to be the starter, you got some awful problems at this point.
Yeah. No, and I think it's a decent draft for linemen as well. Quarterbacks and linemen this time.
Yeah. Now we're getting Tomlin back. We pretty much saw that. You okay with that?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think that he's a good coach. What he needs to do is there are two things that I think that I'd like to see change. One, the coordinators. One of the things you look at Tomlin among all the all-time greats, and I think he is going to be a Hall of Fame coach. I really do.
At this point,
there's one thing that's missing with Tomlin, and there's no coaching tree that comes off of him. Like some of the other great coaches.
Well, there is none, and this, to me, if you're gonna criticize Tomlin, and I certainly see the reason for that, but I pulled up what he has had in coordinators, and you're absolutely spot on. I mean, you had Dick LeBeau, who was a legendary defensive coordinator,
right?
But you pull in Keith Butler, and it wasn't that it was a bad move up front, but when you saw it wasn't working, and you kept sticking with it.
Right.
Not one of his best moves. I actually thought Austin, I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Austin did a fine job with what he was dealt with this year.
Yeah, I mean, those injuries that he was dealing with, your inside linebacking core is pretty much decimated. I think he did as well as could be expected. There's just a lot of money that's being spent on that defense, and so there's an expectation it's going to be, the 85 Bears, which it's not.
No, because I mean the problem when you're spending a lot of money on, pretty much Fitzpatrick and Watt is where most of that money's going. That it's a misnomer that it's a highly paid defense because it's a highly paid two players that's sucking most of it up. But that doesn't leave
Hayward at $16 million.
He is, yeah. But let's look on offense. He started his career with Bruce Arians, who was a solid traditional offensive coach. I didn't have any problems with the offense he was running. Todd Haley, then Ben's choice of Randy Fishner and Matt Canada. Therein lies, the issues with I didn't think Haley was bad what he was trying to do, but there are also a lot of issues that kind of cropped up, especially the he and Ben arguments.
Well, I mean, the other thing, if they would have stuck with Bruce Arians, Ben would have been killed because he had him in the pocket a long time, making a lot of plays downfield, and that offensive line just wasn't protecting him. So they had to make some sort of change there.
Yeah, but I mean, you're right. This is where, if you're going to criticize Tomlin, this is where the criticism should begin and end. I mean, say what you want about, the player maturity or whatever. This is what haunts NFL coaches today. It's what haunts professional coaches today. I mean, not just in this sport. And if you're looking at cower at some sort of disciplinarian, just pull up your newspaper.com account if you have one and look at 1999 and 2000 when you were basically ripping him apart for the same things.
Right.
So, if there are critiques of Tomlin, and, I'm not so sure you don't get him for just one more season at this point.
Well, he may want to change too,
Yeah.
I mean, look at Bill Belichick.
Yeah. But you look at some of the arguments out there, as far as criticizing them because they need to basically lose and get high draft picks. So is the option for him to be a worse coach to do that? Or do you want to hire somebody who's a bad coach so you can lose a few years and get high draft picks? Is that where the criticism's coming from?
The hard part, Dave, is that when they do make the playoffs, at least the last 4 playoff games, they haven't been close.
No.
And I think that brings the issue, They've also been outmatched in a lot of these games. Some of them they have not been. I mean, they should have beaten Cleveland. They should have beaten Jacksonville. I think they were better teams than them. But, this year, this is not a team that was going to go very far.
Yeah. And I agree with you. And again, those are valid criticisms too, the playoff performances. I guess where I get irritated is, you make people, and we've talked about this before, people making it personal, somehow making him seem like a bad coach. He, as you said, he's a Hall of Fame coach. If you're going to criticize him, these are the criticisms, and if you're Art Rooney Jr., you got to pull a Heather like with what Heather did with Pat Narduzzi. I'm assuming, Pat has not made these drastic sweeping changes to a coordinator systems in his tenure there.
Right.
I've got to assume Heather like is helping along in that restraint. They're impressive moves, by the way.
They are. I like everything they've done.
Yeah. But I mean, you got to make a sweeping.
But the problem is the problem is, Dave, having that lack of success in the coaching tree is, if you're going to try to get some coordinators to come in, he doesn't have a track record of them going and getting better jobs.
Right.
So that makes it a little bit more tough. And I'm not sure that the Rooneys are spending the money on coordinators either.
And that's probably part of the problem. I'm not saying he's not, but if you make the move, is Art going to have the same, Art 2 going to have the same ability to pick coaches as his father did? I mean, we don't know. That's a scary proposition. That's why when we were talking to Danny the other day and he made the claim, when the Steelers make a next move, it'll probably be the last move of our lifetime. Not so sure. And it's not just because we have long genes in our families and we'll live into triple digits. It's because I'm not so sure that, does he have the ability to do that and pick that coach?
Right.
So, I mean, these are certainly questions. I'm glad he's coming back, but you're right. Those are pressing problems. You can't compare it. The other comments, well, they fired Belichick. Well, Belichick had 3 losing seasons in 4 years.
Right.
And their moves to rebuild the team don't seem to be, they seem to be getting worse, not better.
They messed up the quarterback position.
Yeah.
You can't survive with a bad quarterback. It just does not happen.
Yeah. You're right.
And like we've said here before, if you're going to win, you need to win in that first quarterback contract too.
Yeah.
Or it's still team friendly.
Right. And that was the reason that Browns lost to Houston. Although ironically, if you're going to lose to a team, losing to the team that you just gave your future to, while the quarterback you bought for $300 million can't play. And quite frankly, they're not in the playoffs if he does.
No, I don't think they are.
But so.
And your defensive player of the year doesn't show up.
Right. So I think criticisms of Tomlin are fair at this point for the reasons we mentioned. And if he doesn't get a good offensive coordinator in, and he's got to get an offensive line coach, because that's part of the problem is is it these guys have no talent whatsoever, or they're just not being coached properly at that point.
Right. So Dave, with the Steelers out, who are you rooting for?
Detroit. That's a fun story. Yeah. That's just a fun
easy
story.
call. Easy call. Yeah.
And let's segue that in, Fletch. We root for Detroit.
All right.
Are we talking Detroit pizza? What are we talking here?
We are talking Detroit pizza. There's no other choice there.
Yeah, there really is no other. I mean, they have a good Greek food thing going on there, but again, is that really Super Bowl food?
No. And it's like San Francisco going there. Do you go to our youth and go to Rice-A-Roni because we were told it's the San Francisco treat?
I've never been.
Or do you go to it for a cioppino?
I've actually made cioppino before. It is a tasty meal.
There you go.
But the saffron costs more than all the other ingredients put together.
Well, it is the world's most expensive spice, yes.
But you got to have it.
Yeah, so it gives the color.
Exactly. I mean, you can put paprika in, but that'll destroy the flavor.
No.
Yeah.
Poor man's saffron, by the way, is turmeric, if you ever need to substitute.
Well, are you going to accept the substitute if we're having cioppino?
No, I accept the substitutes.
All right.
No.
All right. So
Tampa, where do you got?
Boy, that's a tough one. I think I'd have to go crab cake. What about a crab cake egg roll?
That could work. For Tampa, I think I'm going for the Cuban sandwich. The pressed sandwich with ham, with little beef or little pork in there, and pickle. Oh, you're not a pickle man. It kind of throws it for you. Sorry.
I was just about to say, can we do it without pickles?
I suppose you could.
Does that put me in weenie status?
No, it's you're consistent with your dislike of pickles, so I'm going to give you a break on that one.
It's the devil's food. If I read Leviticus, he said that pickles are the devil's food. Leviticus 2:3.
I kind of missed that chapter, I think.
All right.
Green Bay, what do you got?
It's got to be a cheesy thing. It's got to be cheesy.
I think a cheese broth.
Okay. All right. Let's do that. I don't think they have a chance in hell of going,
No, but
but we can do that. We can
you
do
got to be
that.
prepared for the menu, though. You got to be prepared.
If Baltimore's going, what's going there.
It's got to be something crap.
Pit beef.
Oh,
Pit beef.
good choice. Because that's close to my buffalo choice.
Yeah. What's
My
your
buffalo choice would not be wings, Dave, because that's too easy.
Yeah.
It would be beef on weck.
What is explained? Explain yourself.
So the beef on weck is basically your French dip, but I forget what the name of the bun is. It's some German name. The last few letters are weck, and it's basically a Kaiser roll with like caraway seeds on it, and you dip it. So it's like a French dip. It's a beautiful thing.
See, I was afraid, this was going to be something about a cadaver.
Well,
You get
when
the
times are
Cyril Weck.
tough.
See, we brought it into a 4-1-2 there with Cyril Weck. I like
Yeah,
that. I like that.
Sarawak, yeah.
I have a big ass brisket in my freezer that I just got. Have you ever
Oh,
gone to Logan Farms?
I have not.
The greatest meat.
I'm a Bardines guy.
I'm a fan of Bardines. I want to get their aged steak there, but I was at the Monroeville farmers market, and Logan's Farm is located. I work in North Huntingdon, so it's not far from my store.
Mm-hmm.
And I got their Delmonico. It was like butter.
Oh,
I tell you. So I got it the next time just to see if that was a fluke.
nice.
Greatest steak, kielbasi. So right now I'm sitting with a brisket, a frozen brisket that we can do the beef wecked with. If necessary, we can do a pit beef with it too. So it's a multi-purpose brand there.
Well, in Houston, you can do, or even Kansas City gives you barbecue options. But Houston, I think I might go Tex-Mex though.
Okay, I like that. Definitely for the dip though.
Yeah.
I mean, who do you see going?
Well, San Francisco is tough to overlook, but man, my heart wants Detroit, much like you.
Yeah.
AFC, I don't know. I mean, I think that we're going to see for the first time Patrick Mahomes going on the road in the playoffs.
Playoffs. I like the commercial with
I do too.
Yeah,
Kevin Hart and
that was a good commercial. So, who are you going with? Because I agree with you. I don't think they're going to pull it out on the road.
This might be Buffalo's year.
I'm going there.
And I think it's going to either be San Francisco or Detroit.
All right, I'm going Detroit.
So either way, we're going to eat well.
I think we're going to
Detroit, Buffalo. All right.
I think we're going to definitely eat well. I don't have a Buffalo hat. I have a Detroit hat. So that's probably where I'll root because you got to root for the hat at that point.
Well, I might go shopping and see if I can find an old Lem Barney jersey.
I got a place where you can get it. It just takes like a month to get here. That's the only problem.
Oh.
Yeah. So you might have to.
Man, let's go with my cousin Paul in Detroit.
See if you
say,
can find
Paul, you got to hook me up here. Yeah.
Did I ever tell you your Uncle Bruce?
It's fun. Oh, makes me laugh too.
He's a chuckler. He's a chuckler.
Oh,
he's on his Mount Union.
He does like to stir the pot.
That's what makes me.
Yeah,
chuckle.
I know. He's living in your shadow.
I think he's put a hex on the girls' basketball team that he seems to constantly go to. They used to be good.
Well, I mentioned my cousin Paul. I'm going to bring him up again because when we were growing up, and Paul's probably about 8 years older than I am. Being from Detroit, he was a big Al Kaline fan, and I was a Clemente fan. And I had this one horrible day where I said to my mom that I think maybe Al Kaline might be better than Clemente. And she said, "Well, what are you talking about?" I said, "Look at this." And I held this out. I held a little battery for her. I said, it's an Al Kaline battery.
And did she chuckle or just shake her head?
Well, she just sort of shook her head.
Yeah. I understand. Could I say he might be the worst player with 3,000 hits? Great player, Hall of Famer. I'm just saying of those with 3,000 hits.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he had some incredible years. Great arm in right field. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, our last question for the day, Fletch.
All right.
This is probably our worst sports year. 2000 was pretty bad, but I was thinking towards in the mid to late 1980s, especially with our basketball teams that we were so collectively high on. Pitt and Duquesne, just that both games just miserable last night. Absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
Duquesne blowing a late lead against Richmond, a good Richmond team, and Pitt just, I don't know what Pitt looked like against Syracuse, but it was pretty bad. Who was the team of the year in Pittsburgh?
Wow. I'd say it's the Pitt women's volleyball team.
I had them up there, but I'm going Riverhounds.
Riverhounds, yeah, that would be my second.
They sold out. They sold out Highmark Stadium for the year. They had 101 capacity for the year. Which who would have thought that? Who would have thought that was even a possibility when they built that place?
And it's designed, Dave. They can expand it
up to 18,000. Absolutely.
If they go up.
If Dan was here, I think they'd be a serious contender because Dan Rudy loved soccer. I'm going to gather Art's not a fan.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
And one more question.
The other thing.
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Why
isn't Sidney Crosby being recognized as still the greatest player in hockey right now? For what he's doing at his age, it's mind-blowing.
Could be the best. What is he, 37, 38?
36, 37, somewhere in there.
Best older year I've ever seen.
Yeah, no question.
They're a bottom three team without him in the lineup right now.
Agreed.
I agree. And here's one more thing for you. And this I started thinking about it.
Okay.
You recall as Brian was on the show talking about Kutch being the Pittsburgher of the year, and we asked him about Heather Lyke,
and
he kind of dismissed it, saying, basketball and football are bad. How can she be Pittsburgher of the year? And we kind of dismissed him. And I started thinking about that. Is her legacy as huge as maybe we thought it was without having successful basketball and football programs?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it is. I mean, all the other sports have flourished under her.
Yeah.
Pitt's moved to the ACC in basketball, especially, that's a no-win situation. They're just where Pitt was so strong in the Big East is because they had such a great connection to the New York City market. and they were able to do that. I don't know that they found their recruiting thing yet for the ACC. And games like last night just show that they're not ready.
Right.
Football wise, I mean, only Clemson's won more games than they have in the ACC in the past few years. So,
right.
Last year was a disaster, but I think it gets better.
Well, as I said, I mean, it's intriguing with his offensive hires. Got potentially a really nice quarterback to run it, because I'm not sure the current roster has the mobility to run that offense.
No.
As far as last year's roster, I mean, you get a 4-star from Alabama. That's not too bad. And from what I can gather,
No.
they paid top notch for that. So, all right. So we still give her kudos.
No, I think
she's still a Pittsburgher of the Year contender.
Yeah.
All right.
For me, yes, absolutely.
All right. As I said, I started thinking about that the other day, and I see the point, but I'm kind of leaning towards leaning with you. So now, can I play our music as we go?
If you must, man. Let me settle down here. Okay, I'm ready for it.
Can I say next week? Next week, you and I are going live.
We're going live, baby.
You better believe it. Should we talk about Mike Tomlin if we go live?
We should talk about anything live, man.
I like it.
Let's see where it goes.
All right. Finoli and Fletch on Sportsnet live next week. Until then, and by that time, Fletch, it's going to be 48 degrees.
Ooh, I hope so, man.
Yeah, we'll have to play catch.
Yeah, we'll do that. All right, man. You have a good week. We'll see you live next week.
You got it.